I'd like to welcome my first guest who's already here on Skype on a tight time frame, former Congressman Patrick Kennedy. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Kate.
Well, I appreciate your coming in. I know we've reached out to you, and I know that Smart Approaches to Marijuana is partnering with Attorney General Peter Kilmartin for an event tomorrow, I believe, coming out again against legalization of marijuana in Rhode Island. Clearly, there's so much going on right now, especially at the federal level, which is something that I want to talk about a little bit later. But what do we expect here now, Patrick, in 2017, especially what's the empirical evidence that has been learned in other states that have already legalized marijuana that you might point to at the event tomorrow?
Well, thanks, Kate. Let me just start by saying, obviously, we're living through an epidemic of addiction in this country and depression. The suicide rate is twice the murder rates, more than car accidents, and of course the opiate overdose rate is even exceeds that. And then death due to alcoholism, alcohol-related deaths is twice that, and yet no one talks about it. We have a public health epidemic of addiction in this country, and of course we're in the midst of rolling back the biggest expansion of healthcare coverage for people which primarily benefits people with mental illness and addiction. Mm-hmm. First time ever that they'd ever got coverage for it. So I just want to lay that as a context. Everybody's familiar with the opiate crisis being pushed by big pharma. The Purdue Pharma, which overproduced OxyContin, is an example of that. Now we have, cheap heroin coming in. In light of all of this, we ought to think about, do we want to pour gasoline on the fire? And so the concept is, we know what's happening with other addictive substances that are basically there's no perception of risk. Alcohol is ubiquitous. Tobacco, until the tobacco settlements, was pretty well changed in terms of the moral appreciation for the impact of that. So I think that, just going down this road of adding a new intoxicant cannot be a good thing. I just think we have to use our common sense. Now, you can look at the states and we can show the numbers, and more teenagers use, and if there's more people who use, if you take a percentage of those that are susceptible to mental illness or addiction, obviously those will rise at a commensurate rate. But just taking that aside, the big fundamental question is, let's stop. We don't have to debate this. Mm-hmm. Our brain is the most important organ in our body. It mediates our motivation, our perception, and our cognition. And what are we as a nation trying to grapple with? Alzheimer's, addiction, and mental illness. Now, why would we support an intoxicant that affects cognition, affects motivation, and affects perception? It just, why would we want as Americans to have something else to drag us down?
Do you think that message has been successful, Patrick? Of here, the supporters for legalization keep pointing to polls saying that 60% of Rhode Islanders support it. A, do you think those polls are accurate? And B, do you think do you think there's enough information out there that you're pointing to about this? Is it looking to increase this awareness to all the things that you point to?
So I don't dispute. I think it's very popular now to be pro-pot. I think that it's kind of cachet to be for. But, I don't know if people really appreciate that. They want to be kind of rebels and support, this legalization. It sounds so attractive in terms of let's end prohibition. But it really isn't as innocent as it seems. This is about supporting Wall Street. It's about supporting big private equity of folks who are going to make so much, who are already making big money off of this. So the very people who are more traditionally supportive of this, they need to look at the fact that what we're really talking about is not decriminalization, which means that we don't lock people up and give them prison records for possession of low amounts of marijuana. What we're talking about is giving an industry the ability to advertise, market, and target an audience which predominantly will be people who are susceptible to addiction, and young people who will principally be the ones that start using at an earlier age, because the perception of risk will be lowered since, of course, it's sanctioned by the society. And the more people use it as younger people, the more have problems with addiction down the line, because the brain is still developing well into the mid-20s. So arguing all those scientific facts is not the point. The point is, we just, this is not the kind of cash issue it should be. If people really look at this, I don't think they would change their minds. And that's why we have to put these billboards out. It's why we're asking Rhode Islanders, are we sure we want this? Are we sure? Just get people to think about it. I think we've had a little bit of a pause since it's been legalized in several other states. And we had a chance to look at it. It's been suspended. Of course, in Massachusetts, they approved it, but it's been put on hold. So maybe we want to put it on hold. Let's not rush into this. Let's create a commission in Rhode Island where we consult the experts in neuroscience and child and adolescent development, in the Chamber of Commerce, in law enforcement, and let's see whether this was something that Rhode Island can really subscribe to the belief that it's innocent and it does more good than harm. I don't know if people will trade the public health of kids for their own civil liberty to be able to smoke pot recreationally. I think we have to have that false dichotomy.
Yeah, so we're just fixing a little something here, Patrick. And I know, again, you're on a tight time frame, but I know the event's taking place again here in Rhode Island tomorrow. And you hit some of the talking points, but if you're addressing the Rhode Island viewers here right now, again, why would legalization and your estimation have an adverse impact here on society in Rhode Island?
Well, Rhode Island ranked #1. It's still always in the top 5 of the states that have the highest reported country. And I'm proud to think that it's because we're more open in Rhode Island and we have less kind of shame about, accurately reporting our health index. But just taking it from those indicators, it would seem to me contrary to our interest in Rhode Island to approve another intoxicant, which frankly is shown to increase the ultimate use of heroin and other opiates, which of course are taking so many of our Rhode Islanders' families' lives. I think that this just isn't a smart move, plain and simple. People can disagree with me. I'm happy with that. I've lived when people disagree with me. I very strong that we should give this a thought.
Island, issues with Source RI, issues with UHIP. Could the state even handle a legalization complex of that magnitude? Are we not? Could we even handle this if they were to legalize it? Do you think?
I worry. So many Rhode Islanders have suffered so much over such a long period of time with our economy just struggling, and frankly, people need an action. And marijuana, you track the increased use of marijuana and alcohol and opiates. It's really medicating the psychic pain. There is no mystery as to why suicide is also tracking with overdose in this country. We are seeing deaths of despair, and we should just be helping people who have a crisis, not giving them something that's going to create more havoc in their lives. And I think we should be proactive in health. Extend Islanders to be strong, resilient, powerful young people. And they can't be that if their motivation is sapped, their perception is altered, and if this affects their ability to absorb information as growing adults. That seems to me like a no-brainer.
Well, Patrick, again, I'm glad that you had the opportunity to Skype in today. I appreciate your time. Again, I know that you have the event taking place tomorrow. We'll be looking out for that. I'm sure we'll be talking in the coming weeks and months. Again, appreciate your Skyping in to let folks know a little bit about the approach, especially this year. Certainly, we'll hopefully talk with you more. So, Patrick, thank you so much for Skyping in.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, thanks. Okay, everyone, that was Congressman Patrick Kennedy. He Skyped in. Now, he had formed and the Smart Approaches to Marijuana, the fairly anti-marijuana group, and he just spoke with us. They are going to be partnering with Attorney General Peter Kilmartin tomorrow. There's going to be an event taking place, again, opposed to the legalization effort. Of course, we'll have the flip side of that argument here on Go Local.